Tonight, after months and months of campaigning and fundraising,
I stand before you to officially launch my campaign for a second term.
That's why today I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
And weeks of back-to-back political fighting.
There will be no red states and blue states. There will be the United States of America.
America's fate is in your hands. Your vote can defeat the Washington swamp.
It all comes down to tonight.
First Coast News has you covered from the White House all the way down to Florida's amendments. And our extensive team coverage starts right now.
And we start tonight with a live look at the White House as votes continue to be counted at this hour. Thank you for joining us tonight at 11 on this election night. I'm Anthony Austin.
And I'm Jeannie Blaylock. We have a full team on air and behind the scenes for you, tracking every result you're about to see on air tonight. Let's first start with our co-anchor, Heather Crawford, with the latest on the race for the White House. Heather?
Well, this is a race we are watching very closely, so let's get to the latest results. The big one right now, Florida at this hour officially too close to call. So, however, President Trump is holding a lead right now as the candidates battle for the state's 29 electoral votes. You see Donald Trump right here has 51% of the vote, Joe Biden with 48%. We're continuing to look at these numbers as they come in. 94% of precincts reporting here in Florida. And let's show you the situation in Georgia. The president there has a sizable lead with less than half of the votes counted so far. You see President Trump with 55% to Joe Biden's 43%. Now, the winner of this state gets 16 electoral votes. Here are the numbers at this hour. 61% of precincts reporting in Georgia. Donald Trump, 55% to Joe Biden's 43%. And you can always stay up to date with the very latest on these election results with our First Coast News app and also on our website, firstcoastnews.com. Jeannie?
Another hot race across the First Coast, the race for U.S. House District 4, with Republican John Rutherford winning re-election today. Rutherford will keep his seat in the U.S. House. Rutherford served as sheriff in Duval County for 12 years. He defeated political newcomer, Democrat Donna Deegan. As many of you know, Donna Deegan is the wife of our chief meteorologist, Tim Deegan, but we do want you to know that Tim has no input in our political coverage. On your side's Alex Osiris has been tracking this race tonight. Let's go live to Alex.
And Jeannie, this race called before 8 o'clock tonight. John Rutherford picking up 61% of the vote to Deegan's 39%.
Watching the results at the beaches and in downtown Jacksonville. Voters setting Representative John Rutherford back for a third term. Rutherford, a former sheriff of Jacksonville, won election to Congress in 2016, representing the 4th Congressional District, which covers much of Duval, the suburbs of Nassau and St. Johns County, including St. Augustine. We spoke with Rutherford after his victory.
The first thing we've got to do is continue to work with the president to get this economy going again. We've got to get jobs created. 10 million new jobs created next year is the goal.
His opponent, Donna Deegan, says what's next for her isn't decided, adding that she'll continue to focus on healthcare issues that affect those on the First Coast, including the Donna Foundation, her breast cancer advocacy group.
I'm very hopeful that that Representative Rutherford heard those voices, and so I will be happy to help him or anybody else try to bridge those gaps.
And the new congressional term will start January 3rd. Reporting live downtown Jacksonville, Alex Osiris, First Coast News, on your side.
Thank you. Let's check in on another race. 99% of the precincts reported Democrat Congressman Al Lawson gets to keep his seat in Congress with a 65% to 33% win over Gary Adler. Let's go back now to the president's race, and let's talk live to our expert tonight. Dr. Michael Bender is a political science professor at UNF, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances we will know the winner tonight or even tomorrow morning?
I think that's a pretty low number. It looks like it's coming down to those states in the upper Midwest, like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan, and they've been a little slow to get their mail ballots started. They don't start counting till today in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, and that's going to take some time. You know, over 1 million ballots in each state. It takes time to go through.
Let's talk about Trump in Florida. How crucial is that big boost from Hispanic voters today in Miami-Dade?
I was enormous. A lot of the state was status quo, a few changes here and there, Duval turning blue, Seminole County turning blue. But Miami, the Cubans came out in big numbers for him and really turned around a county that was a blowout for Clinton and made it close, less than 100,000 votes. That was enormous and really propelled Trump across the state.
But help us understand something, Dr. Biden. You are saying, or Dr. Bender, you are saying that Nevada and Arizona are super important still to Trump now. We don't know the results yet, and they have a lot of Hispanics. So they may go to Biden, but how come? What's the difference?
Well, the big difference is where their ethnic origins are from. South Florida Hispanics tend to be heavily Cuban. There's a Venezuelan population that's new to the area. And where they come from, their history with governance, particularly in Cuba and Venezuela, a socialist dictator regime. So when the Trump party and his party are talking about socialism, Democrats are bad, Joe Biden's going to bring you socialism, that resonates because they've lived in a socialist state and they obviously left because of how terrible it was. That is not the case for the vast majority of Hispanics in Arizona and Nevada. They typically come from Mexico and Central America. They have a very different outlook and experience with that.
So, Dr. Bender, we appreciate your expertise tonight from UNF. Anthony?
Jeannie and Dr. Bender, thank you. We have a team of reporters at both the GOP and Democratic watch parties in Duval County tonight. Let's start off with On Your Side's Kaylee Tracy, who is with the Duval County Republicans.
Anthony, just a few moments ago, the Duval GOP chairman here told the crowd that it's a marathon, not a sprint tonight. He's now speaking to a crowd that you can see is still here right now. A lot of people here, they are saying that they are excited, looking to see that President Trump wins Florida. Again, we have not heard officially that. The crowd here, as you can see, is cheering. Again, we do not have official word on that. You can see them dancing with the music. It's been energized here all night. Anytime the state was called in favor of President Donald Trump, the crowd cheered. Many tell us here that they are happy with how the president has dealt with the economy. We've also seen a lot of local Republicans win several races and thank the crowd here. I'm going to now toss things over to my colleague Haley Harrison, who is at the Duval Democrats watch party and has more from there. Haley?
Yeah, thanks, Kaylee. The Duval Democrat drive-in watch party wrapped up about an hour ago, so it's quiet here now. But it looks like Duval County has gone blue this 2020 presidential election with all voting precincts in. Former Vice President Joe Biden got 51% of votes counted, and President Donald Trump got 47%. Now, this is a big change for Duval County, who hasn't voted for a Democratic president since Jimmy Carter in 1976. Yes, 44 years ago. Now, earlier this news got watch party attendees out of their cars and on their feet. State Representative Angie Nixon was also here and shared what she believes this means for Duval County.
We're ready to see a more progressive county. We are ready to actually start fighting more for justice. It's time for more justice. It's time to get rid of incompetence in the White House as well as on the state level in the governor's office. And we're super excited.
Now, Nixon also took the stage tonight to say a few words to the crowd. She said Duval Democrats need to continue to stay involved with her even though Election Day is over. On the north side, I'm Haley Harrison, First Coast News, on your side.
Thanks so much. You know, with this year and the political climate, voter turnout all across the country was historically high, with a lot of people taking advantage of mail-in and early voting because of the pandemic. Now, that is especially true in Duval County. On your side's Ken Amaro has spent the day at the Duval County Elections Office. So, Ken, what is the latest there tonight?
Well, tonight the office is now closed until tomorrow morning when the canvassing board meets at 9:30 in the morning. But the big surprise for the Duval County Supervisor of Elections Office in this 2020 presidential race was the turnout. As you stated a second ago, early voting was at this rapid pace, and so they were projecting that the turnout today on Election Day would be about 80%. The ballots were brought in earlier tonight, and when the dust was settled, the turnout was about 74%, pretty much what it was in 2016. Now, here at the end of the day, another issue came up with the canvassing board. Attorneys Leslie Gawler and Chris Hand pose a challenge to the canvassing board because sometime during the day, staff took duplicate ballots, which is a natural procedure, but there was no transparency. Apparently it was done without the attorneys or representatives from either Democrats or Republican having an opportunity to see what was done on the ballot. So tomorrow morning at 9:30, they're going to meet to address the issues and the concerns, and this could impact about 400 to 600 ballots. That's the situation here at the Supervisor of Elections Office. Ken Amaro, First Coast News, on your side.
Ken, thanks so much. And of course, there are many more races that we are tracking all across the First Coast tonight. Another one is the half-cent sales tax in Duval County. Now, to start, a huge turnout for education as voters in Duval County overwhelmingly supported that half-cent sales tax, with nearly 2/3 voting to approve it. You see the results right here. It passed with 67%, with 99% precincts reporting. On your sides, David Jones has been tracking these results for us all night. David?
Duval County voters certainly making their voice clear on one issue in particular. A whopping 67% majority supporting the half-cent sales tax referendum for Duval County schools. Supporters of this say it's a historic night, not just for the school district, but for the city as a whole. So all of these construction projects that are needed in some of the oldest schools in the state, on average, the oldest schools in the state, can begin after collection begins starting in January.
This is an excellent, exciting time for Duval County. This is the first time since consolidation that the city has made this kind of investment in our students and in our schools.
We should have done this years ago. We've done it now. It took a lot of us working together.
Superintendent Green says that this is going to generate nearly $2 billion for the school district to begin a lot of these repairs and new construction needed. She says to take the district from being on the cusp of an A rating to an A rating in order to compete with other school districts across the state. She also says a citizen oversight committee is going to be formed that's going to be able to watch this spending and monitor it on behalf of the taxpayers. This sales tax is going to continue for 15 years. We're in downtown Jacksonville. David Jones, First Coast News, on your side.
Also tonight, voters overwhelmingly voted to amend the Jacksonville City Charter to give the City Council the authority to appoint and remove 4 JEA members, with 97% of voters saying yes. And in the race for Duval County Clerk of Course, with 99% of votes in, Republican Jody Phillips had a narrow edge over Democratic challenger Jimmy Midyett with a 51-49 split. And in the race for District 4, Jacksonville City Council, Kevin Carrico beat out Nicole Ham with 53% of the vote.
Now let's check in on St. Johns County. A record turnout from voters there. On your side, Jessica Clark is outside of the elections office there. And Jess, we've seen dancing, we've seen a lot of voters today. Tell us about what's happening tonight.
Well, so tonight it's quiet, but certainly the talk is about how many people came out to vote. Quiet here at the Supervisor of Elections office now, but earlier this evening, staff was in counting the remainder of those mail-in ballots that were received today, also monitoring as votes came in or ballots came in from the precincts. St. Johns County has a new county commissioner, that's Christian Whitehurst, and the city of St. Augustine has a new city commissioner, that's Barbara Blonder. But again, let's talk about how many people came in to vote. 84% of registered voters cast a ballot in this general election. That is incredible. The Supervisor of Elections even thinks that's incredible.
I think it's record-setting, but we kind of expected and planned for between 85 and 90% voter turnout. So we've staffed for it, we've planned for it, and everything's been deployed well.
So get this, she looked back and she said the highest number was 81% turnout. That was in 1976 for the presidential election. Then 81% then. 84% now. The number could inch up just a little bit more because provisional ballots still need to be counted, as well as overseas ballots. They have 10 days to count those overseas ballots, and that will continue on. We're live in St. Johns County. Jessica Clark, First Coast News, on your side.
Jeff, thanks so much for that update. Now let's check in with the results on some of the amendments in Florida. As you know, voters working on 6 amendments in this election. Voters deciding that it's going to be a First Amendment number 1 passing because it needed 60%, like all the amendments, to go ahead and pass. This is the citizenship requirement to vote in Florida elections, and it was expected to pass, and that indeed has happened tonight. Now, here are the results for Amendment 2. This would raise the minimum wage in Florida, and so far with 98% of the precincts reporting barely over 60%, but if this stays as it is, it will pass. And that would raise the minimum wage from what it is right now, which is $8.65 to $15 by the year 2026. Now let's take a look at Amendment 3. It's currently failing right now below that 60%, 57 voting yes, 43% saying no. And if it were to pass, it would be a big change for our primary election system in Florida. Right now, we have a closed primary. You have to be a registered voter as a Republican or a Democrat to vote. This amendment would allow independents to vote, but unless they can inch up over that 60%, this is not going to pass.
And so, Jeannie, let's talk now about Florida's Amendment 4 failing to pass right here. This would have totally changed the way we amend the Constitution in Florida. It would have made it much harder, requiring an amendment to go through the voting process twice. But again, it failed to reach that 60% threshold, so it does not pass. Now, Amendment 5, it has passed. It extends a tax break called the Save Our Homes benefit. So with 98% of precincts reporting, it has met the 60% threshold, 74% saying yes, they want Amendment 5 to pass. And we can also say that Amendment 6 has passed, providing homestead property discounts for widows of veterans. With 98% of precincts reporting, it has gotten an overwhelming majority saying yes, 90% yes to 10% no. So let's dive deeper into these amendments in Florida. Dr. Will Miller is with Jacksonville University, joining us now. He has served as a strategic advisor to elected officials. His areas of expertise include campaigns, elections, and polling. So Dr. Miller, first I want to talk to you about Amendment 2. That's the amendment that would raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour in Florida by 2026. Right now, with 98% of precincts reporting, it has 61% approval. So if this does pass, talk about the impact it would have on our state.
Yeah, absolutely. There will be a definite economic impact. Thankfully, like a lot of states that have gone with the minimum wage increase, it's showing the staggered increase going immediately to $10 an hour in September of 21, and then $1 per year through 2025. I think what's really interesting, obviously, with this amendment right now is it sits just outside the cusp of the half percent recount, sitting at about 60.8%. And then obviously, too, if you look at the local factor in Duval, that amendment actually didn't get to the supermajority, barely crossing the 58% threshold.
Interesting. Okay, so now talk about Amendment 3. That is the one that would change the way Florida has primaries. Right now we have closed primaries, so if you're a registered independent, you cannot vote in the Republican or the Democratic primary. We have not called this amendment yet, but kind of talk about the impact that this would have if it does pass.
Yeah, absolutely. This would definitely be a game changer. As we think about how primary elections are conducted in the state of Florida, moving to an open primary system, moving obviously to a two-move forward. It doesn't exactly surprise me that it's not quite getting to that supermajority status. As you look at the statewide results for the presidential election, we know that we have quite a mix of partisan influences in the state of Florida. And the fact that we can't get to 60% on something that would allow individuals from outside of a party in particular areas to potentially have an impact on what that party chooses to do in terms of putting candidates forward for general elections isn't exactly surprising, but this is definitely a conversation that comes up somewhat regularly. I mean, historically, Florida's tried constitutional amendments to move towards open primaries. So I think this will be one that we'll probably see investigated further as we look at what the parties continue to do in the state.
All right, Dr. Miller with Jacksonville University, thank you so much for joining us tonight.